Israeli settlers have killed at least 3 Palestinians in attacks on a village south of Nablus in the occupied West Bank. Several others were injured in the violence, 2 of them critically. The occupied West Bank is also being blockaded by the Israeli army. Imran Khan joins us live from Ramallah. You're continuing to see the ripple effects, Imran, of what's happening in Gaza. Tell us what you've learned about the settler attacks on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank.
Well, those attacks are still actually ongoing in Qusra. We're hearing in the last hour that another 13-year-old boy has been shot in the head. He's wounded. He's wounded critically. We're also hearing that one of the 13 that have been injured is actually a 6-year-old girl. Now, Qusra has always been a flashpoint for settler violence, but now Palestinians are incredibly afraid. You can't, like you say, the occupied West Bank is actually blockaded. Now, there are roads that Palestinians can travel on, but they're near settlements. People don't even want to get onto those roads, the roads that they can actually travel on, because they're very worried about settler violence. This was always a concern. The minute Palestinians here in the occupied West Bank watched the events of Saturday and then over the past 5 days with the bombing on Gaza, they were very worried that the settler attacks would increase. But settler attacks have been on the increase for a decade now. 800 in the last year alone, some 3 a day. Those are big numbers, but they're likely to exceed even 3 a day across the occupied West Bank. And that's the real concern here. People who live near settlements, Cyril, people who live near the border with Israel are actually stocking up on food and water because they don't want to leave the house. And they're worried about this blockade becoming even more permanent.
Imran, you're looking at another aspect of this, which is that the conflict is impacting the livelihoods of hundreds of Palestinians because workers from Gaza are being dismissed from their jobs in Israel.
Well, dismissed is a very gentle way of putting it. What happened is the Israeli bosses actually, on advice of the police, put them into cars and dumped them on the borders with the occupied West Bank, and that was after police interrogation. But we've been hearing from those workers. Let's take a closer look.
Cut off from their homes, this has become a makeshift home for some Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. It was a local government building designed for sports and arts. It's now a camp for displaced people. There isn't a person here whose family hasn't been touched by this war.
My brothers and cousins called me and told me my son was injured. A few hours later, they called again and told me he was killed. I want to go see him. His mother is in Egypt for medical treatment. She's stuck there and I'm stuck here. He will be buried and I won't see him. My other 2 children are sheltering in schools alone.
Others tell us they've lost multiple members of their families. Most don't know if they'll have a home to return to. These men were employed under an agreement Israel made with the Gaza Labour Ministry, which allowed a set number of people to work in Israel. It was a good deal for Israel. Businesses got cheap labour and could circumvent labour laws. The Israeli government could say it was doing something to help Gaza. But on Saturday, employers acting on Israeli police instructions were told to take them to checkpoints at the occupied West Bank. Before that happened, we are told some were interrogated and assaulted by the Israeli security services, a claim we cannot confirm. The influx has taken the Palestinian authorities by surprise, and they're woefully unprepared.
We need to maintain the health factor very importantly in this location. We are talking about, as we speak, 550. This number might just rise to 700 or maybe 1,000 because people are keeping pouring. Once they are discovered inside Israel, handed over to the Israeli military, and they are just simply left after being beaten and humiliated on the checkpoints to find their way to these shelters.
Everyone here is watching the news on their mobile phones, but unlike you or I, they're not watching for the news. They're watching their homes being destroyed in real time. They can't get home and there's nothing they can do about it. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera, Ramallah.